So yeah, Hype Check numero 3. There's a bit of confusion. A lot of people were thinking that Hype Check series is actually for games that I don't play. To be honest, I almost played all the games in Hype Check as much as all the other games, excluding Dragon Ball a little bit. Now, Hype Check is just my current feelings on whatever game is out right now because I talk so much about this stuff in so many different facets and in so many different platforms that it's hard to get a concise like message of what I actually feel about a game. So instead of everyone being like, oh, he hates this or he loves that, or he hates this or he loves that, which seems to happen anyway, at least there's this video for you to reflect on. But Tekken 7. So long story short, Tekken's been a weird series for me. Tekken 3 was one of my like favorite fighting games. I played a whole bunch of Tekken Tag 1, but after Tekken Tag 1, something dropped me off. They took Jin, which was my main favorite character in Tekken, and they changed him. They made him something else in Tekken 4. So I was like, huh, why is Jin so weird in Tekken 4? He was amazing in the game. He ended up being amazing in that game, but I didn't like the changes they had made to him. I didn't like that he felt like a different character. And it seemed like a lot of people felt the exact same way that I did. A lot of people were like, yo, Jin is gone. What did you do? Why is he not the same Jin from Tekken Tag 1 and Tekken 3? Where'd that character go? So everyone was pissed. So it wasn't just me. At Tekken 5, they brought Jin back. And they're like, we're gonna do what you want. We're gonna bring that moveset and that character that you love so much. We're gonna call him Devil Jin. We're gonna give him stupid ass horns and make him look terribly edgy. I like me some edgy characters, but Devil Jin was horribly edgy. I do not like the way that character looks, so they ruined my boy. I lost the character that I really enjoyed in Tekken, which was Jin. I stuck around with the character through several Tekkens from Tekken 5 to 6 and 7 at the beginning, and I just wasn't enjoying them. I finally had like a transcending experience where I started playing Miguel, and I was like, man, this game feels a lot more fun when I'm not playing as this character, when I'm not playing as Jin anymore, and I had a lot of fun. Miguel ended up being a really fun character. I really enjoyed Miguel. I didn't love the character, but it was just neat playing something different. Akuma I thought was really fun too. I really enjoyed playing Akuma when he first came out. Geese was a lot of fun, but it really didn't. There's one character that clicked with me gameplay-wise, and that's Noctis, which is why you see me primarily use Noctis whenever I do come back to Tekken 7. So I like Noctis and all these characters for mostly like gameplay reasons. I think Geese is super cool. I like Geese as a character probably the most of all the characters, but there's not a character that I just like absolutely love to death in Tekken, or one that I've gotten super attached to over the years. If Tifa was added, that would be a much different story. But I think that's one of the reasons why I don't have a growing attachment to the Tekken series in general. I never had a character that I just always like sunk with me for so many years. Either way, that didn't really have an effect on my enjoyment out of this game, because I have never had a bad experience with Tekken 7 as a game. And I'll explain as a game because there's a lot of other things that I have some gripes with Tekken 7. But I truly think the learning process of Tekken 7 of understanding spacing, understanding zoning, warming up to your character's moveset, finding the good moves, all that it makes perfect sense why people love the shit out of this game. I really think T7 is the best Tekken's ever been. I actually think since Tekken 3, this is the best we've ever seen Tekken. And that's not only because the roster is getting larger, there's a lot of guest characters that got people excited. There's a whole bunch of stuff that they threw in there. They were able to compensate some guest character roster in there while also returning characters got spots. And that's a tough thing that other fighting games have a difficult time juggling. I don't see too many people clamoring for Ganryu, much less like Roger and stuff like that. I think they've done a pretty good job of exciting new stuff and bringing back the old stuff. And there's still going to be more characters this season that we don't exactly know yet. I think competitively, this game is doing an incredible job. I think the fact that Tekken has grown is a big response to the fact that Capcom has been doing not so great in terms of competitive viability with a lot of their games and keeping people interested. And Tekken has been there just to pick up that slack, and it's allowed these games to flourish and thrive. Just looking at the gameplay, I'm gonna immediately mention things that I love about Tekken that other fighting games have a tough time doing. And the biggest one is situational awareness and spacing, which mostly comes down to a very big footsie element. I mentioned before that I think this is like one of the best footsie fighting games out there, and it really is. Other games like Samurai Showdown do it really well as well. But for me, Tekken is even better because the basic mobility of the game revolves around difficult things. Moving forwards and moving backwards is difficult to do that rapidly with the character. Knowing when to sidestep at the right point is difficult because characters have so much shit they can do. When start getting used to that, once you start blocking the snake edge and then finding the appropriate punish, like, it is a difficult thing to know where should I punish with what? Should I do a wall rising 4 here? Can I do a wall rising 2 and get a launcher? What's launch punishable? Like, all that stuff is information that makes Tekken very difficult to understand, which boils down to a thing that I like to describe as legacy skill. When you play fighting games, how much you've played of the previous fighting games carrying directly over to the next game can be a big thing. And a lot of stuff from Tekken Tag, much less Tekken 6, even Tekken 5, the way characters act and behave, the way their moves generally work, a lot of that knowledge and matchup data carries directly over from those old games. So the people that have been playing Tekken for a hell of a long time are going to be pretty good at Tekken 7 right off the bat. Even though there's new mechanics, there's Power Crush and, you know, all the crazy stuff that you can do off the wall and the new mechanics they add over the seasons, that does change things and it is a fundamentally different game. But legacy skill is huge in Tekken. Even more so than like just playing Ryu from Street Fighter 2 to Street Fighter Alpha to 4 to 5. Completely different story. They really changed the limited tool sets that characters have in 2D games, like quite a bit. But since Tekken's movesets are so big, things fundamentally sort of act kind of similar. Legacy skill's a big thing, and if you're just jumping into Tekken, it can be a bit daunting. But I don't think that's a bad thing because that learning process it's so good, dude. Like, I can't describe how many times you just get caught into a grind session with one guy just going over and trading matches, 2 games in his favor, 2 games in your favor, just keep going. It's so easy to one more Tekken that it's insane. Not to mention the quality of life stuff that boiled down to visuals. They did the perfect amount of stuff that isn't over the top. Like Mortal Kombat 11 had an example with Fatal Blows, where they wanted you to see the supers more because no one saw X-rays in the previous Mortal Kombat. So we're like, we're gonna make you see this shit all the time. The problem is now you see it all the time and the supers just take too damn long. In Tekken, they were like, we're gonna introduce supers, but we're also gonna give you another super that you can do. Something else that is more integrated into gameplay to make like moves safe, which is rage arts and rage drives, which was a good call. Multifaceted usability because they both activate the same ways at low health. Now, the big one is the slow-mo. And everyone knows that the slow-mo stuff in Tekken is just the bee's knees. Other fighting games do have it. Believe it or not, Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2 does have that stuff. It just doesn't happen as often because Tekken sets up for hype moments where you get the characters at low health quite a bit in this game. Like you either get washed or you wash the other guy, or you get a really close match on that 3rd round and it becomes pretty damn intense. And then you highlight those moments through insane oh dude, it was brilliant. It was so smart because that payoff of the punch or the kick eventually landing, of characters flipping over each other and the game is just dropped in frames and you're suddenly like, what's gonna happen? And nothing happens and the both players return to neutral. It's like, those moments are godlike, dude. Stuff like that was really smart. Really smart for them to try to spice up the Tekken engine because it's largely a very similar game to T6 and that legacy skill, but they put in the right things between Power Crush, Rage Drive, Rage Art, and the slow-mo system. They didn't compromise Tekken, you know what I mean? They didn't change the core fundamentals of the game to allow for a more user-friendly experience. Game is still generally tough. Still, things are difficult to do. They did try to simplify the game in some way, but they didn't give every character an 8-way dash. So I gotta give it to the devs. They made some good calls when developing T7. Although it took a long time to get to this point. Like, not a lot of people realize that Tekken 7 had a couple of years in the arcades before it was out on console, and there were some busted-ass versions of this game between Tekken 7 version 1 and version 2 when Akuma verse came out. Holy hell. The old arcade versions were a little wonky, and then it got much, much better. They actually waited a couple of years to add the story mode and all that shit to make the game a much more complete package and a much more balanced one, where they can refine the system a little bit. Now it's like 4 or 5 years in, the game's been out for a long time, and there's more and more people playing it, and I can understand why, just because at its core, it's fun as hell, but it's not perfect. T7 lacks a huge thing that it needed more than anything. There's barely any way to learn how to play this game. There's almost no tools in the game outside of a general move list to even teach you what the hell you should be doing with 3D movement. How the hell you should even be conducting yourself in a fight other than just throwing stuff out and hoping it lands, randomly throwing like a down forward 2 and hoping that leads to something. The tutorial tools in this game are almost non-existent. at this point. And the nice thing is that the devs are responding to this by adding tools in the game, but there is a couple of combos, but even the combos that the game set up were kind of crap. Like, if you're just brand new to Tekken and you want to know what the hell to do, the game will offer you nothing. Offers you nothing to teach you an understanding of how do you even learn how to play this game. And lucky enough, I can pick up on things and understand them, but the biggest thing that you're going to be missing that you don't see, you see combos and you're like, oh, people do combos. Matchup knowledge, man. The number one thing that wins people games in this game is matchup knowledge, which also complements punishment. A lot of people say that the number one thing is movement. The number one thing you should be practicing is movement. Learn how to do your back down back motions. Learn how to do your forward movement motions. I don't even think that's really true. And for someone that's like trying to learn Tekken whenever I get a chance to play it, you need to learn how to play against the characters. You need to learn what the hell characters do, what's punishable. And the only way to really learn that is to play a shit ton of the game. You need to play a lot of Tekken 7 to get good at it. And to me, that's not a bad thing. It's got a very fun low level where people are kind of hitting buttons against each other. But once you start understanding at what ranges characters can attack, that's when your backdash canceling comes really in handy. That's when knowing what you can throw out to get a counter hit really is valuable to convert that into the optimal combo. A lot of this game relies on matchup knowledge, just general player knowledge. And that's not a bad thing. It leads to some exciting stuff because people are just so versed in some matchups that they can make bad matchups feel really good, which the game already inherently has a nice amount of balance to it where any character feels like they can win. That's amazing. That's a huge thing in this game that other fighting games generally lack. In Tekken 7, almost any character can win, and that's just a testament to the mechanics of the game. So the big problem is that Tekken doesn't do anything to really teach you how to play, but that is changing in Season 3 with some developer tools. I won't lie, one of the most impressive things that they're adding is this like Tekken tool that teaches you how to punish things. And me and Kenny were talking about it. Kenny actually had the idea. He's like, man, how nice would it be if Tekken would just let the opponent do a move and then it would tell me how to punish it or give me the different things I can punish it. That'd make it so much easier to learn matchups, and that was literally what they demoed seconds later. It blew our minds. There's a tool that's being added to the game where you can have the AI do things to you, and then the game will tell you this is what you should be punishing with. It goes even a step further where the replay system, the game online, you can watch a replay of your match, and the game will tell you, yo, you didn't punish right here when you could have. There was an opportunity that was here that was available, and you didn't do that. This is what you can do instead. Holy shit, that's like revolutionary. The fact that the game can assist you. There's a little bit of like a Tekken guide that can assist you in doing that shit. Absolutely brilliant. Like, if this shows up in other Bandai Namco fighting games in the future, holy hell, that's gonna be incredible, because if there's two Bandai Namco fighting games that need that more than anything, it's Tekken and Soul Calibur, games that have a huge amount of moves per character that can be kind of hard to understand what the hell should I be doing against this guy. And I think they can take it a step even further that Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2 does, where that game sort of teaches you, hey, this character generally will be doing this shit against you. This is how you fight against it. And that's an amazing tutorial. That's only something you're gonna get after a game's been out for a long time, where the devs are able to understand the meta of a character, even the characters that they make. You're not gonna understand the meta until you get into the player's hands, and then they can put a guide into the game to teach you, yo, this is how you should be fighting against it. Hey, this is how you should be punishing it. Truly godlike stuff they're going to be adding. Unfortunately, the thing a lot of people are going to be immediately thinking of, and they want my opinion on, is the frame data thing. Tekken is charging for its frame data. It's also included in the season pass, but if you want to get the frame data separately, I think it's like $4. To me, they're doing it completely opposite. The frame data should be normally available in the game. To me, that's just something that everyone should get access to. And yes, Tekken is doing something different than it's normally done. Japanese developers usually don't like to include things like frame data because they like the players to figure that stuff out. But the tools have been available in mods and all this stuff for years, and everyone's had access to this information. It's just like, just give us something in the game to show us. And they're offering that. The problem is it literally costs like extra money unless you have the season pass. To me, that doesn't make any sense. The frame data should just be free. To me, what's worth $4 is the training tools, is the replay tools. I think having the game teach you what you can punish here or there is actually worth an extra charge. Like, I would pay money for that thing. It'd be nice if all the training tools are free. It'd be nice if the game that barely has any training tools available to you where all that stuff should be free, but I digress. I think hopefully in the future, if there's a Tekken 8, if there's more stuff in the future, they should not be charging money for it. I get it, the devs are making stuff and it costs time and money, but these are like general tools that have been available in fighting games for years, like half a decade. These things have been available in a multitude of other fighting games. It doesn't make any sense for them to charge for it. So I think the game assisting you in some ways and offering you help and guiding you through matches, if that makes sense to charge for that, but frame data, come on, man. It seemed like everything was exactly the opposite. So yeah, long story short, frame data should be free. I don't know how the hell they're charging for that. I just hope it's setting a precedent for the future Bandai Namco games where that stuff will just be added. And charging for frame data never has made any sense in any fighting game. Training tools are cool. That's exactly what Tekken needs. The other thing this game is absolutely lacking and has made me reluctant to want to jump back and play it at any possible biting moment is the online. Tournament mode for this game is like a joke. It barely functions. It works sometimes, and it's one of the coolest modes in the game, but the connection quality seems to be worse in the tournament mode than anything, and I really like the tournament mode, which sucks. The ranked matchmaking has been in like a weird state constantly where the game will work in ranked and you could just replay and like rematch on the same ranked dude over and over and over again, like almost similar to player matches, and the connection quality of the game is just not great. Like even a 3-bar connection, there is a noticeable delay. More so to the fact that if anyone plays this game, they pretty much only play 4 to 5 bars, which is the maximum connection allowed. If you get anything that is kind of a not as perfect quality connection, it feels like very delayed. And the game feels like it's using the same netcode as Tekken 6 did, just better. It feels like it's the exact same netcode that went into Soul Calibur 6, it's just Soul Calibur 6 is a little bit better too. It's easily the biggest thing that's lacking in Tekken. And that's why I said the most fun that I have with Tekken is grinding against one guy. That reason is because, one, you're learning the matchup, which is a large amount of character information and knowledge, and it's a lot of fun. But two, when I'm rematching against one dude, that guy usually has a good connection, or is one of the few people that have good connections. So I just want to play against the guy with a good connection over and over again. That's why you get so much of just like over and over and over and over against the same guy. Some guy's been playing some dude for 3 hours. You're like, man, I'd love to see something different. Unfortunately, it's kind of a pain in the ass to find people with connections that are usually that good. So you just stick to fighting the same guy. I find it super fun, but on a visual standpoint on the opposite end, it's kind of a pain in the ass. You want to see different stages and different music and yada yada. T7 isn't perfect. I think at its core fundamental gameplay, it's almost perfect Tekken. It's a perfect balance of taking things and trying to appeal towards a casual audience, but not compromising the core system of what makes Tekken great, of what makes the good players good, and what makes the game impressive at a high level, while still having some cool, casual, fun, appealing rage arts and things like that to make it more goofy and wacky at high level. I think they'd had an amazing balance of that, because the true balance in fighting games isn't just one or the other. You don't want the game to be horribly difficult for everybody. You don't want the game to be horribly simple for everybody. Tekken 7 strikes a good balance between that, and that's commendable. Absolutely commendable, especially considering that they've been going 3 seasons and it's still doing a pretty good job. But a lot of the other components around the game, like the story, I thought was great because of crazy bosses and stuff, but man, this story mode was largely kind of lame. The storytelling, it was super lame. Training tools are not good. The game doesn't do much to teach you, and the fact that the online is the way it is. I hope those things can get fixed in the future. The only problem is that Bandai Namco has a history of the netcode being just the same for all their games. It's the same for Smash Brothers, it's the same for Tekken, it's the same for Soul Calibur. It's universally, they just don't change it because their games sell good enough and we don't need to change it. I hope that mentality changes. I really do. It's the thing that I hope the guys at Bandai Namco take time for the next generation of fighting games to have that be their one big improvement. Because I'm cool with watching animations that I've been seeing since the mid-90s. I'm cool with seeing everyone like fall on their keys and it's the same damn animation from Tekken 5. I'm cool with that. If you want to talk about games that have been jacking animations since Soul Calibur 1 and mid-90s Tekken, it's Tekken 7 and Soul Calibur. You're seeing the same shit, and that's fine. As long as it plays fun, that's cool. If the other systems can get updated in the future, I think that'll make for a truly, truly amazing experience. And probably one that will make people even more happy than they are now, because it's neat to see people convert over to 3D fighting games that traditionally play 2D fighting games. I think Tekken has done an amazing job at bringing in the community for that. But the reason the competitive side of Tekken is so big is because you're not playing online! You don't have to deal with the online. It's fun playing this game offline. It's a completely different game.